Tory Archbold. I'm so excited for this conversation. And I've been waiting for so long to talk to you because I think we had to reschedule a couple of times. So this has been a long time coming. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, you are most welcome, Sandy. And I just love being in your energy. There's a magic around it. And you know what? When the timing is right, we always connect
That's
and we're
right.
always able to deep dive and add value to others. So thank you so much for having me today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. And I'm so sorry we weren't able to get together when you were here in the States, but maybe in August we can figure out. And
We absolutely will. That will happen.
yeah, I know. I want to give you a big hug and just have you sign your book for me.
That's a promise.
All right. So for the listeners, this is Tory Archbold. She is the CEO and founder of Powerful Steps. I love that. An online community and platform for women making global impact. And her new book, Self-Belief is Your Superpower, was just released. And we're going to dive into all of that. I love that talk, the title, because that is just one of the most important things to everything, to mindset, to happiness, to everything. You've got to believe in yourself. Yeah.
You absolutely do need to believe in yourself. And I thought it was a really important message for us to actually create because can you hear that?
I did hear a beeping, but it's okay. It stopped.
I think there's a builder outside. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Sandy. Hang on. Look, I do believe self-belief is a really important message. And the one thing I do want to share with your listeners is that self-belief actually comes for free. You do not need to actually go out and pay to obtain it. It's something that if you work on yourself from the inside out is possible for anyone. Now, I also believe that when you write a book, you need to write a book that shows people the runway of life. And through the power of storytelling, I've always believed, and this is how I really found my own self-belief, you can tap into the power of the path that other people have carved, and you can say to yourself, how can I do that better? And my mantra has always been, I can and I will, because I do believe with self-belief, you're able to add value to the lives of others, but also you're able to be in your lane. You never want to replicate what someone else has done. You want to create your own lane. You want to step up. You want to add value. But by actually having that self-belief that you know that you can and you will, and you step into it with passion, integrity, and delivery, anything is possible. And that's what lights me up, Sandy, which is why I wanted to be on your podcast, because I know how much happiness lights you up as well.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. So we're going to dive more into the book in a bit, but I'd like you to just tell the audience about your story, your backstory, because you've done some really amazing things before you started your Powerful Steps community.
Yeah, so my career actually started with self-belief because I was getting knocked back left, right, and center. No, you shouldn't start your own business. You should go off and get married and have 3 kids, create a really nice house. And then, that's going to be your life. And I thought, gosh, I don't want to be boxed and I don't really want to just be a homemaker. I feel that I have more to give. And so I decided that what I was going to do was just sit back and learn from the best. And so I took myself off to London in the mid-90s. And I was on a working holiday visa, which meant that you could only work 12-week stints. So instead of going to university, I actually got the University of Life. I worked with the best of the best in media and marketing. So I worked for MTV. So I got to work on, Nickelodeon, Showtime networks. I worked, I got to see the Spice Girls live at MTV in Camden and helped launch Howard Stern's movie many, many years ago. Then I did a stint with Columbia TriStar, George Lucas Films. I learned about licensing, I learned about marketing, I learned about product placement, but most importantly, I learned about the power of storytelling because every single media company I went to, everyone was telling a story. Like Howard Stern was the #1 shock jock in America at that time. And, he was all that swearing and, disruptive leadership, and no one had ever seen anything like it. And I remember when we got the movie to promote in London, I was like, who is this guy? But when you got to the core of it, it was the power of the story. It wasn't
Yeah.
about the swearing. It wasn't about look at me, look at me. It was the story. And I came back to Australia after those 2 years, and I was stuck. I was really stuck, and I wasn't happy at all, Sandy, because I couldn't find my lane. I couldn't find myself. And so I kind of fumbled around for a little bit. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to create my own business. I'm going to create a life by design. I'm going to create something that lights me up from the inside out. And so at 24 years of age, I started my first business, and it was called TORSTAR. And I had no money, I had no media connections, but I knew that I was going to create something special. I could just feel it because I was a good believer in leaning into the power of what people had created and how I could own my own lane. So, fast track 20 years, guess what happened? I was the top agency in Australia. I had partnered with the world's top performing retail brands, celebrities, and influencers.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had 22 staff, I had 10 freelancers, and everyone was like, look at this successful PR powerhouse. But behind the scenes, my story was really one of survival, success and survival, because I think, while I looked like I was happy on the outside and I had all of those materialistic trimmings, my last client that I launched into Australia was Drew Barrymore and her flower beauty brand. On the inside, my life was a shambles. And so I had to really take a long, hard look at myself, which came unexpectedly for me in the form of a near-death experience, and really strip out everything that wasn't meant to be in my life to create space for what I truly wanted and desired. And that was love and adventure. And again, trying to add value to people. And that's why I decided at the age of 44 to shut my business and start again. And that's why I'm with you here today, because I launched Powerful Steps with exactly the same framework as TORSTAR. But what I've been able to take forward is the key learnings to empower women and men in the entrepreneurial and business space, to allow them to become heart-based leaders, to allow them to double, triple, quadruple their results, because they believe that they can, but they're doing it for the right reason, So that's my back end of my story. And that's what gave me the happy heart, was truly going through life, backing myself, leaning into the power of stories, and knowing that there was something in listening to these stories, like listening to this podcast today, that I could take away and create and deliver impact for others.
I love it. That's very powerful. So you kind of glossed over, and you don't need to go into any details, but you had a near-death experience. And there's so often I talk to people and I'm like, I don't want you to have a major health scare or hit rock bottom in your life. And so often that's what pushes people into making those life changes. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because
yeah, I can.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want
stuck
people
to me.
Yeah, like I don't want people to go through all the hardships that I had to go through, or to have these big life moments. Today's the day. Start now.
I absolutely agree. And I think the part of your question where you you don't want to be pushed into a moment like that because you don't, stand up and take note.
Yeah.
I was that woman, and I know you were that woman as well. And, I was at the top of my game. It was in 2013. I was due on a flight to London. I was hosting a big media event over there with one of the top retailers. And I knew I was dying. I knew it, but I didn't take note. I just, the signs were all there. I remember walking up for my morning coffee and, to the cafe that I love, and it's 2 blocks from my home. And, normally it's like a brisk walk with the dog, and I'm like on it, I'm listening to music, or I'm, jamming to something. And it took me an hour and a half to do that walk. And I was like, why is my body it was like step by step by step. But I still had committed to go to a party to support a friend and to do all these things. And I was a single mom with my daughter, and I pushed through, and I should never have pushed through. And what happened was I woke up on a Sunday morning, and I basically I was vomiting. I was lying in bed on my own because I'd given my daughter off to my friend to look after her. Everyone thought I had food poisoning, and I said, I don't have food poisoning. I eat canapes for a living. That's not possible. I knew it was something else, but I was trying to make light of the situation. Lying in bed, I actually felt my appendix burst.
Oh,
And
wow.
it snapped. It was like boom, this big noise, and I could feel whatever it was flowing into my body. And 10 years ago, my daughter was quite young. She was under 10, and she'd been playing with my phone and had changed the code on my mobile. I could not dial emergency services.
Oh, no.
I had to wait for someone to call me to get myself out of that situation. And that probably was the hardest part, because I could feel my body was giving way. And so what happened was, an old boyfriend of mine happened to be in Sydney, and his dad had retired, but he was a heart specialist. They came into my house. My house was deadlocked. They came into my house through the garage up the stairs, and his dad was like, we need an ambulance. Something's wrong. They revived me a couple of times on the way to the hospital. And, being in hospital on a Sunday night in Australia, I'm not sure what it's like in the US, but a lot of people are in there for drug overdoses from Saturday nights.
Oh, okay.
There is car accidents. There's all this kind of stuff. And then there's just me who's, trying to do everything for everyone else and nothing for myself, because I was an ultimate people pleaser. And, they did all the scans, and they realized that my appendix had burst, and I was operated on at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I was under for close to 6 hours because they couldn't get rid of the blood poisoning in my body.
Yeah.
And so I
it's
ended
very
up with
dangerous.
septicemia.
Yeah.
And
Oh
I
my
was in a
goodness.
coma, and 8 days.
You were in
I
a
lost
coma
8
for 8
kilos in 5
days?
days. I had to learn to walk again, go to the bathroom, and I had to really take a long, hard look at my life and make some hard-ass decisions around who I wanted to surround myself with and who I wanted to become. Because after 12 rounds of antibiotics and being told that I had a 6-month recovery, I just was not getting better. And I remember the surgeon saying to me, Tori, the only thing that is going to make you better is happiness. And he said, and the key to happiness is this: remember this mantra. And I've never forgotten it. A happy heart is a magnet for miracles, which is why it's on the front of my book, because without that surgeon telling me that, telling me to put myself first, telling me to say no to everyone that was taking from me, even saying no to my daughter was the hardest thing. He goes, you have to start saying no to her. All you do is put everyone first. You need to find out what true happiness is, Tori. So I had to take a really long, hard look at my life, Sandy, and go, you know what? I can't sustain working 80 hours a week. I can't sustain working different time zones. I can't sustain flying to New York for 48 hours and coming back to Sydney.
Oh my gosh.
I can't go to Hong Kong and do the same thing, or, a London or Milan. I was pushing myself because I wanted to be home on the weekends for my daughter. That was important for me. Yeah. And I'd arrive in London and, something would happen, like the nanny would quit, or there'd be a problem in my office, or a client was, I'd only want to deal with Tori. I had to really just go, well, actually, take a step back. What actually matters? And what I noticed was, when I started putting myself first, I became happier, and the people around me became happier. And my mindset became a lot clearer, and I became really clear on what lit me up and what needed to go. I started saying gently, shutting the doors, I should say, not saying, gently shutting the doors on family, friends, clients, anyone that wasn't aligned with my highest and greatest good. And, it gave me the freedom to think clearly about what it was that I wanted. And you know what? It literally, 4 years later, I ended up winning full custody in a restraining order, because I created the space after 12 years in the family law court for my daughter and I. And I got my first taste of freedom, and I felt so happy. And I remember looking at my daughter and sitting her down and saying to her, you know what? We've been given a gift. You might have lost your mom. a few years ago, but she's reborn in a new and exciting way. And I said, there is not many children or adults, for instance, in this lifetime that have the opportunity to start again the way they want to start again. Yeah.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
we were like, what kind of family life do you want? What kind of friends do you want? Where do you want to live? What does your day-to-day life look like? And we basically reframed our whole life. And then my soulmate literally appeared in my life 6 months later. He proposed 10 months after that. I ended up having the love of my life, the business that I love in Powerful Steps. And every day I wake up with happiness in my heart. And so I say to myself, and I say to others, you know, sometimes you need that game-changing moment in life. And other times you just need to listen to your body before that game-changing moment changes your life.
Exactly. Yes. And so now you have this book out, and you called it Self-Belief is Your Superpower. And I love that, because I believe we all have superpowers. I joke around, my superpower is finding things that are lost, right? You know, like car keys, like that's my superpower. I love that though. I mean, you know, because without that self-belief, you're not going to accomplish anything. So how much of this journey of yours is in the book, and talk a little bit about more, you know, what you really want the reader to get out of it?
So there's a little bit of my story in the book, and I have to be completely honest. You know, the first publishing deal that I was offered was, let's do the story of your life and let's turn it into a Netflix series, right? And I said, no, I don't think that's my first book. I wanted to trust my intuition. And I really went back to the core of what lit me up and what allowed me to find my self-belief. And that was storytelling. And it was storytelling through the power of other stories. So yes, there are parts of my story in this book, but I've also tapped into parts of other people's stories that helped me transform and level up. So, you know, there are everyday people that have been through our programs that are in that story. But then there are some very, you know, high profile people that have also had some hard lessons in life. Like, you know, our friend David Meltzer that we both know, he's in the book. Marianne Williamson's in the book. We've got, you know, Rachel Hunter, who is Rod Stewart's ex-wife, who's now like this beautiful spiritual seeker. And then we've got, you know, the rock star Alison Charles, who actually was my mentor through all of this, who allowed me to really truly tap into my intuition and my self-worth. And, you know, she was one of the top DJs and track stars in the USA. And now she's like this beautiful shaman. So we've got all kinds of powerful stories in there that I really truly believe will help others tap into the power of how they had those game-changing moments. And I didn't want the book to be about me, because I believe growing, learning, and evolving is about us. It's about teamwork. It's about leaning in. And I think that if the book was all about me, that's just like, that's an ego thing, right? I'm a heart-based leader. I'm an inclusive leader. And I believe that you get the most out of sharing experiences with others so that they can level up. So what I've included in the book is the power of those stories and the transformations that came through that, not only for me, but for others around these incredible leaders. But also for those of you out there that are going, I'm stuck at this transformational point in my life. I don't quite know how to step up. How do I do it? I've given you the framework of how I started my first business and transformed it into a, you know, multi-million-dollar business and attracted the world's best into my world. But I've also shared the steps of how I was brave enough at 44 years of age to start again. Because I really, truly think we get one life. And this Buddhist monk taught me, it's a 45-second rule. He said to me when I was at this transformational point in my life, Tory, you've got a challenge and you've got to face it. And I know you do this for a living as well, Sandy. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's such a big speed hump. How do I get around it? Do I go over it? Do I go through it? Like, what's the quick way? There is no quick fix, right? Because you've got to face yourself in the mirror and like what you see. And he was basically telling me, face the fear and do it anyway. But he placed it to me like this. He said, you can look at it. You're halfway through your life. You can like marinate in shit for 45 years, Tori. And you can, really just go, should I, could I, what if? Or you can go, I've got 45 minutes to get a solution. Or you can say, I've got 45 seconds. Yeah. Now, every challenge that I now get, I used to marinate them in 45 minutes because I was still like, oh, should I take that road or that road? I'm like such a quick, fast worker now. I'm like 45 seconds, it's solution based, and this is what it is. And I share this framework and how it shifted my life to this extraordinarily high vibrational level where I've really been able to, tap into my heart and my mind and my body and my spirit to help other people. And so I share those insights in the book because I really believe that if you've been given a gift, you should pay it forward. So whether you're in a business where, how do I connect with people? How do I attract the right clients? If, you're still looking for love and you want to attract the right partner, I share how I met my soulmate and I share the framework around that. If you're stuck and you're thinking, oh, I just want to say goodbye to my old life and create space and hello to the next, I've shared the framework of that as well. And I've done it in a way that we've received some really beautiful feedback. People are like, I feel like I'm in the room with you, Tori. I feel like I'm in this little private conversation and I feel that I can do that. And that's really what I wanted to do with this book, was birth content so that people could take positive action.
I love it. I love the 45-second thing because I am someone who does tend to, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I'll think about it and think about it and think about it. So I'm going to try that. I really love that.
Please do, because we're launching a campaign into the US in August based around that, because we've been doing a lot of TV interviews and podcast chats, and everyone just, wherever I mention it, they're like, that's just so clever. And I say, well, thank you to that beautiful Buddhist monk. He honestly switched my thinking, because you know what, when you think about your situation in life, Sandy, and you've got a beautiful life as well, and you're in complete alignment and you're shining a light for others, imagine how many more people you can help if you made a decision in 45 seconds versus 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It allows you to focus on the right things, not the wrong things. And what that does is, if you apply that in your everyday life, you've just given yourself back hours and days to invest in creating a legacy. What's not to love about that?
I know. So incredible. So incredible. We could talk forever. I like to try to keep these conversations between 20 to 30 minutes. So is there anything else that you can share with the audience before we close up? Maybe one more golden nugget.
There is one golden nugget. I do believe the 45-second rule is really important, but how you also start your day is important. And after that near-death experience, another beautiful Buddhist monk taught me this, because I told him, 80 hours a week, he's like, you need to learn how to meditate. You've got to set aside an hour for yourself per day. And I said, I really don't have that time. That's not possible for me. And he said, we need to create something which is a sacred space for you, which is a vessel for you to tap into your mind, body, spirit every day. And so he said to me, if you're not going to create an hour, who do you have a shower with in the morning? And I said, myself. Every morning in the shower, meditate, because no one's in there with me. And we all have a shower in the morning. Well, hopefully we do. I get 3 drops of lavender oil. I put it on my décollage. I inhale, exhale 3 times. It really grounds me. It connects me to Mother Earth. Most importantly, I've been doing this for over a decade now. The runway of life just appears for me. So I'm very clear on who I'm meant to be connecting with, what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm supposed to say no to. So it really just links back to my value set, and I'm able to step into my day in a really powerful way.
Love it.
Really clearly focused. And that's where the magic of miracles start finding you throughout the day. Anyone that does this, we talk about it in the book as well, gets these incredible shifts, and they go to where I can't believe that things are happening in sequence for me. And I say, that's because you're in flow. Right. Now, at the end of the day, if you have a shower again, which obviously I do at nighttime, I end it with the same process, the lavender oil, inhale, exhale 3 times, anchor myself. But I say thank you. I end my day with gratitude always. thank you to David Meltzer and the team for connecting me with Sandy today, for us to be able to do a really powerful podcast and add value to others. Whatever it is that's come into your day, that's lit you up from the inside out, say thank you.
Yes.
If there's a lesson that you need to learn, say thank you as well. It's really, really important. So that is how I'd like to end today's podcast chat, with sincere gratitude and gratefulness in my heart, because when you live a life in alignment with who you are, and it's anchored to your truth, your intent, and your purpose, anything is possible.
Ditto. Ditto, ditto, ditto. Tory, thank you so much. I love everything you said. I am so grateful for you. And thank you for being here today. Thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast as well, which is Powerful Stories podcast. I want to make sure we shout out to your podcast as well. Your Instagram is Powerful Steps. Your website is powerful-steps.com, and all of that will be in the show notes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy. I truly appreciate you. Lots of love to you and your community.
Same to you. And thank you for listening, everyone.